RW Wrestling Podcast. Old Guy is here, and he's back with another random Mass Daily match review. And I got a good one today. We got Keith Lee versus Dominic Dijakovic. They wrestled under NXT. This match occurred on February 16th, 2020. This match takes place in the Moda Center in Portland, Oregon. The event is NXT Takeover Portland, and it is for the North American Championship. All right, so introducing first, we must all bask in his glory. He is the North American Champion, the limitless Keith Lee. And his opponent is the challenger. We all must feast our eyes on Dominic Dijakovic. So Keith Lee is ready. Dominic Dijakovic is ready. The Portland crowd is ready. The ref says ring the bell, and here we go. Right off the bat, and all bask in his glory chant breaks out. A lockup leads to a wrist lock from Lee. Then Dijakovic responds with a side headlock. Lee pushes Dijakovic off the ropes, follows him in, Dijakovic ducks down. Lee tumbles over Dijakovic. Dijakovic runs the ropes as Lee runs the opposite ropes. Dijakovic ducks down. Lee catches a discus kick attempt from Dijakovic and pushes Dijakovic chest first into a corner. Dijakovic tries to float over a charging Keith Lee, but gets caught out of the air by Lee. Dijakovic escapes Lee's grasp and pushes Keith Lee off the ropes. Lee just runs straight through a clothesline attempt by Dijakovic and responds with a hurricanrana to Dijakovic. Beautiful pop from the crowd. Both men looking at each other with a stunned look on Dijakovic's face. Beautiful start. Nice. A hurricanrana. Yeah, man. I mean, so far this match has the feel of their first of their two previous matches. So let's see how they elevate things in this one. And I love it because as they're kind of having a little stare down, you see Keith Lee is giving Dijakovic a top that look. I think it's great. Just the small little details that Keith Lee is able to add to his facials. It just makes it so interesting and so great. Both men dodge strikes before Dijakovic runs the ropes and goes for a shoulder tackle, and neither man budge. Dijakovic does it again. Neither man gives an inch. Both men run the ropes and run into each other, and neither man backs down from that either. And the crowd responds to these guys having another stalemate. Lee blocks a few palm strikes from Dijakovic and applies a straight arm lever. Basically, he puts him in a wrist lock and then picks him straight up in the air. The arm is straight, so basically it's putting pressure on your shoulder and elbow. Dijakovic finds his way. So Dijakovic is in that straight arm lever, and Lee will eventually whip Dijakovic off the ropes. He leapfrogs Dijakovic and then ducks down. But Dijakovic is able to score a discus kick to Keith Lee's chest, knocking Lee to the floor. Dijakovic runs the ropes and attempts a corkscrew tope, but Lee catches Dijakovic out of midair. Dijakovic again looks stunned, and I don't blame him. Crowd pops for this little spot. Dijakovic escapes the powerbomb attempt and pushes Lee towards the ring post, but Lee stops himself from hitting the ring post. Dijakovic hits Lee with a few kicks and an elbow. Dijakovic hits Lee with a suplex to the apron. Lee bumps to the floor. Back in the ring, Dijakovic gets in a few kicks and elbows to a prone Keith Lee. As Dijakovic hits Lee's face with forearms, he says, "It's my championship, and there's nothing you can do about it." More forearms and kicks to Lee. Dijakovic wants to suplex, but Lee blocks the suplex. Lee uses his strength to push Dijakovic's hands off of him, and Keith Lee lays in a couple punches to Dijakovic. Lee with more punches to Dijakovic, and Dijakovic sells to a corner. Lee stays on Dijakovic with a forearm to the face. Lee runs the ropes, pushes aside a clothesline from Dijakovic, hits Dijakovic with a backbreaker. Lee then nails Dijakovic with a released German suplex. So a little side note there, when Lee did that released German suplex, he did it from a standing position. He didn't fall back with him. He didn't duck down. He threw Dijakovic over his head. Yeah. All right, so after that German suplex, the champ goes for a cover and gets a 2 count. Okay, so far both men have performed a couple cool spots. Dijakovic getting caught doing that tope was pretty cool, and I don't think I've ever seen a German suplex executed that way. Both men continue to show up their agility. We've already seen a bunch of leapfrogs and duck downs and moves off the ropes and stuff like that. So I'm sure those the high spots that these two guys have come to be known for are coming soon. So on we go. Lee picks up Dijakovic into a fireman's carry, but Dijakovic elbows out of it. Excuse me, sorry guys. Dijakovic finds himself in a corner getting avalanched by Keith Lee. Lee whips Dijakovic into the opposite corner, but Dijakovic comes right back at Keith Lee with a huge tornado kick to the jaw of Keith Lee. Wham! Dijakovic walks over Keith Lee to get to a corner and climbs to the top rope. And what do we have here? From the penthouse area, Dijakovic nails Lee with a beautiful corkscrew moonsault. We get a 1, 2, but no. Lee gets the shoulder up at 2.5. The North American Champion's reign lives on. NXT champ breaks out. Lee avoids a fireman's carry with an elbow to Dijakovic and makes his way into a corner. Lee continues to fight back with some punches to Dijakovic out of the corner. Both men trade forearms, elbows, and punches. Both men close on each other, then Dijakovic gets in a few punches and a knee to Keith Lee. Dijakovic puts the forearm to Lee. Lee is feeling no pain right now as he starts to fire up. Both men start hitting each other with clotheslines, and then they just fall to their knees. They kind of just slump into each other's arms, kind of like they're propping themselves up with their shoulders, and the arms they clothesline each other with. The crowd pops for both men. This crowd is really into this match, and as you all know, a hyped crowd makes me hyped. So they're getting all the chants. They're eating up all the action so far. So good for them. By the way, this is the first match of the night on this Takeover Portland, so this crowd is ready to go. This is actually a really good spot for this match to be in. I wonder how it would have fared. Well, yeah. I wonder how it would have fared if it was later in the card. I guess we'll never know. Where am I at here? Oh, yes. Dijakovic goes for a back elbow. Lee says hell no and blocks it. Lee goes for Grizzly Magnums, but Dijakovic says no and blocks it. Dijakovic hits Lee with a few knee strikes and follows up with a clothesline that knocks Lee to the apron. Dijakovic tries to ram Lee's head into a turnbuckle, but Lee blocks, and Lee puts Dijakovic's head into the turnbuckle. And all basket his glory chant breaks out again. Lee heads to the top rope, but Dijakovic intercepts him with a punch to the gut. Dijakovic takes Keith Lee's head and rams it into the top turnbuckle a few times. Dijakovic climbs up the breath rope and is able to pick up Keith Lee in a fireman's carry, and I think Keith Lee is about to have some issues here, guys. This crowd's firing up, and bam! Dijakovic crushes Lee with an avalanche Death Valley driver from Brett's rope. Cover. 1, 2, Lee gets a shoulder up at 2 8/9. The crowd pops huge for that move. NXT champ breaks out. This is awesome chant breaks out. Dijakovic punches Lee into a corner. Dijakovic runs to the opposite corner, but Lee follows him in, and wham! More pounce for the ounce from Keith Lee. Dijakovic bumps into the corner head first. Both men are down. And wow, what a friggin' move by Keith Lee to get himself back in this match. Okay, so at this point, this match has definitely started to pick up. These two men are doing a great job of elevating spots used in previous matches. I would like to see selling. I would like to see more selling from both men, though. I'll talk about more about that in the aftermath. But so far, so good. Hell of a match so far, and I'm sure it gets better. We continue. So Dijakovic has sold to the floor, and Keith Lee is right behind him. Lee picks Dijakovic up and puts a left forearm upside Dijakovic's head. Ouch. A We Want Tables chant breaks out. Keith Lee leans Dijakovic up against the barricade and shh. Everybody quiet. Shh. Grizzly magnums to Dijakovic's chest. Crowd pops. Dijakovic is hurting right now. Wow, that even hurt me just like freaking thinking about it again. A one more time chant breaks out, and this chant is answered. Lee places Dijakovic in one of the commentators' chairs and lays some more Grizzly Magnums on Dijakovic's chest. Lee fires up the crowd, and he's just like, yeah, come on, let's go. He's feeling pretty good about things right about now. Dijakovic fights back with some fists to Lee, and Lee slumps into the same chair that Dijakovic was sitting in, and Dijakovic follows up with a vicious super kick to Keith Lee's head. And Lee looks like he just slumps in the chair like he has some rigor mortis or something. His arm is just stuck up in the air. He's like he's near death. Dijakovic is back in the ring, and his eyes are fixed on Lee. Oh, holy shit. Springboard senton, courtesy of Dijakovic to Keith Lee. Mamma mia, spot of the night right there. The chair Keith Lee sitting in, the chair Lee was sitting in was between both tables. Okay, so understand this. If Dijakovic was off by a matter of inches to the right or to the left, no, you know what? I don't want to think about it because it would have been disastrous. Crowd goes insane for the friggin' spot of the night. Oh, and by the way, you gotta love Mauro Ranallo. A holy shit chant breaks out, and it keeps on going. And it keeps on going. All right, so back in the ring, we see Lee is on his back in the middle. Dijakovic is selling in a corner, but he's on his feet. So now Dijakovic is measuring Lee for feast your eyes. So can Dijakovic hit his finisher? He just got through hitting Lee with that beautiful senton. Can he win the North American Championship? This is his chance. Dijakovic continues to measure Lee. Dijakovic is looking to bring the kill shot to Lee, but Lee is staggering up to his feet slowly. Dijakovic moves to Lee, but Lee picks up Dijakovic for the big bang catastrophe, but Dijakovic elbows his way out of it, or did he? Lee is firing up. He's lifting Dijakovic back up. Lee is shaking off elbows to the face. He will have his big bang catastrophe, but Dijakovic says, hell no. Dijakovic flips out of it and super kicks Lee right in the face and then goozles Lee. But Lee fights out of it with whatever energy he has left, and Lee delivers a goozle of his own to Dijakovic. Dijakovic is up for the chokeslam, but Dijakovic flips out of it, and Dijakovic reapplies the goozle to Lee and goes for a chokeslam, and Lee flips out of it. Lee continues by picking up Dijakovic for a sit-out powerbomb, but Dijakovic just bounces right back up. Lee is stunned. Dijakovic is firing up. He's ignoring whatever pain that powerbomb gave him. He's looking Lee right in the friggin' eyes. Crowd is going nuts. Lee's mouth's like, what the fuck just happened? North American Championship is on the line. Who wants it more? Seems to me Dijakovic does. This match could go either way, and so onward we go. A fired up Dijakovic goes for a kick to a still seated Lee, but Lee dodges and rolls up Dijakovic for a 2 count. But Lee holds on to Dijakovic and bam! Lee hits that sit-out powerbomb that he wanted earlier. We get a 1, 2, but nuh-uh. Dijakovic says he's not ready to go just yet. He gets his shoulder up to 2 7/8. Keith Lee thought that was it. He was thinking of He was thinking of champagne and confetti and his championship belt. So on we fight. Both men are down as the crowd is cheering both men. We get an NXT chant. We get a fight forever chant. Lee gets a hold of Dijakovic and drags Dijakovic over to a corner. Lee drapes Dijakovic on the top rope as he hops up the Brett's rope. As Lee gets a hold of Dijakovic's head, Dijakovic manages to push Keith Lee off the top rope to the floor. So both these men are pulling out all the stops to win the North American Championship. Who will get that elusive 3 count to take down the gold? Let's continue on. Lee climbs back on the apron. Dijakovic meets Lee at the corner. Lee slams Dijakovic's head into the top turnbuckle. Lee starts climbing up the top rope, but Dijakovic intercepts him with a big boot. Dijakovic signals what he hopes is the kill shot. So Dijakovic climbs up to the top with Keith Lee. Dijakovic and what is he doing here? Oh boy! Oh, he's got Keith Lee in his grasp. Here we go. Oh, wham! Avalanche Spanish Fly. An avalanche Spanish Fly from Dominic Dijakovic. Dijakovic flows over for a cover. New champion. 1, 2. Not on your life. Keith Lee kicks out at 2 4/5. Dijakovic doesn't waste a second. He wants feast for your eyes, but Dijakovic can't get Keith Lee up. Dijakovic tries for a second time. He wants the title. It's in his grasp if he can hit his finisher, but he can't get Lee up. Lee takes advantage. He picks up Dijakovic and wham! Big bang catastrophe. And at 20 minutes, 5 seconds, Lee gets the 1, the 2, and the 3. Lee has retained his North American Championship at Takeover Portland. The Limits one was taken to his limit, but he gets the better of a very game Dominic Dijakovic. This crowd is going absolutely nuts. All right, so both men sell on the mat, and Lee gets up first, and he gets his hand raised, and he has his belt raised up as high as his hands are, looking good. He won the match. He's happy, but first things first, before he leaves the ring, he walks over to Dominic Dijakovic and reaches his hand out. Dijakovic takes Lee's hand and gets to his feet, and they hug it out. These two guys were at one point enemies. Then they were War Games partners, and now they both show a mutual respect for each other. The crowd rains applause down on both men. Lee invites Dijakovic to acknowledge the fans on the turnbuckles as he acknowledges the fans from the mat. One last nod of respect from both men as we cut to black. All right, so I'm going to raise a glass to these two guys. Cheers. That's some good whiskey right there. All right, so before I go into my thoughts on the match, though, I want to talk about the story these two guys have told over the past few months prior to this event. So these two first met in the ring in February of 2019 on an episode of NXT. The match resulted in a double countout after Dijakovic hit Lee with a springboard moonsault on the ring entrance, and they couldn't make it back to the ring. So the rivalry was supposed to continue from here, but Dijakovic would sustain a knee injury that kept him shelved for I think up to 5-6 months, something like that. And it's a shame, though, because Dijakovic was in line for the North American title even back then, so they kind of messed up his run a little bit. But these two would rekindle their rivalry on another episode of NXT with a great match in August of the same year with Dijakovic going over. What was special about this second match was how the two continued to show what big men can do in the ring, right? So these guys perform moves that cruiserweights could do, like topes, springboard moves, top rope maneuvers, all that stuff. So, I mean, these guys, plus at this point, these two guys needed that second match to put themselves back on the map. It looked like both men were kind of falling off a little bit. I know, well, Dijakovic had his injury, but Lee was kind of falling out of favor and maybe going down the card a little bit. So they needed this match to get themselves back in the I'm sorry. Dijakovic was coming off an injury. He wanted to get himself back in the swing of things, and Lee needed this match to get back into title contention. All right, so I think after that they went their separate ways, and Dominic Dijakovic was starting to develop a little face turn around the end of 2019. And Lee was putting himself back in title contention, so everything was playing out well. These two would be, I don't remember if they were unlikely partners or not, but either way, they would partner up to help Tommaso Ciampa and eventually Kevin Owens to fight the Undisputed Era in War Games. So the respect for each other, the respect for each other started to grow from there. Dijakovic would eventually defeat Damian Priest in early 2020 to become the number one contender for the North American Championship, who just happened to be Keith Lee. So, and that brings us to the match we just did the play-by-play for here at Takeover Portland. So, which was a damn good match, by the way. These two men beat the unholy crap out of each other. No punches were pulled. All the clips were emptied. They left it all in the ring. I already talked about their story, as you've already heard. This match ended with a mutual show of respect. They hugged it out, they nodded to each other, shook hands. So the story played itself to perfection. Nice little story that started off as enemies, became reluctant partners, mutual respect grew. They had their match for a title that Dijakovic should have had like about a year prior, and the better man won. And okay, no problem. So both men just discovered a mutual respect for each other through combat. So thumbs up here. Sequences and spots, I thought long and hard about how I feel about them, but they were, who am I kidding? They were out fucking standing. This match was put together well. These two moved from one sequence to the other just about as seamlessly as you can get. There were a few timing issues, like that suplex on the apron was kind of strange, and that Dijakovic discus kick to Lee early in the match. It looked like it almost missed Lee, and Lee just sold it like he would normally would have. But I can easily look past those because Dijakovic and Lee more than made up for them. The best of the spots was the that 360 senton from Dijakovic to Lee in the chair. Like I said before, 1-2 inches to the right. Yeah. All the top rope spots looked great as well. The Death Valley Driver and the Spanish Fly were perfectly executed. And seeing two big boys like that on the top rope makes you nervous, but hey, look, they did it, and they did it really well. So their trilogy overall showed us how big men can get past the irresistible force of movable object trope that big guy always hit people, just got to hit Joe Power. No. These guys not only had the power, they have the ability to move around the ring like cruiserweights. And each of these 3 matches that they had, well, the first 2 anyway, they had the right amount of escalation. They got you to a point where you wanted, where we as fans wanted to see more, right? And then this match happens, and then we got all we could handle, right? I mean, like, what more could these guys do? However, I will say this though, and this is kind of like where I'm going to go into some of the negatives here. I will say that I think that the desire to escalate was a bit of a detriment in this match. And I had mixed feelings about the selling, and so the selling was good in spots and okay in others. But what I mean by detriment was that these guys had already proved a point that they can move around the ring and they can show how big men can up their game if they're able to do it physically. And that in turn, I think in this match hurt the selling because there was especially during the. Okay, hold on a second. So first of all, these guys made each other look like $1 million. I would not take that away from them. Every strike, every move was made to look devastating. Okay, I'm not going to take that away from them. But this old guy is going to be old guy because I thought there could have been more selling. It's just the way I look at wrestling. It's just one of the things that first thing I see is, do these guys sell for each other enough? But what really bothered me about the selling wasn't necessarily like all the strikes and everything. It was the high moves, right? Especially the high spots, right? So not seconds after the corkscrew moonsault, Lee was already fighting back. I mean, come on, man. Come on. It was a freaking corkscrew moonsault from a dude who's 6'6", 270. Sell that just a bit longer. Sell it. Another spot was when Keith Lee hit that pounce on Dijakovic. Not even a minute after that Death Valley Driver from the top rope. Sell that shit. Sell it. You don't see big boys doing or taking Death Valley Drivers from the top very often. So sell that crap, Sell it. Come on. Dijakovic could have just so instead of going right to that pounce, let's say after the Death Valley Driver, Dijakovic could have just continued punishing Lee with strikes and kicks, etc. Perhaps Dijakovic could have locked to some kind of submission, which would force Lee to fight out of it. And it's never a bad thing to see Lee have to fire the crowd up while making a comeback. And then Lee can hit that pounce. And that even escalates the comeback a little more because he's already firing up. He maybe gets his hand the arm raised a little bit once or twice. And then he holds up the third time and he comes back. He fires up. And then he hits that freaking beautiful pounce that he hit on Dijakovic. That'd been great. So selling, yeah, it's one of the things I look at, and that definitely is going to affect the rating. I wasn't keen on the finish as well. Just like the Kushida Ospreay match, the finish just kind of came out of nowhere. Lee had just taken that avalanche Spanish fly, and then out of the blue, he's hitting his finisher for the win. I don't agree with that. If anything, I think Lee should have just blocked the Spanish fly in the first place, and then hit the big man catastrophe from the top rope then and there for the win. I mean, speaking of the move that should have been sold was the Spanish fly, by the way. The Spanish fly itself was just too close for the finish for me to think Lee could recover quick enough for him to finish off Dijakovic. So I don't know. I just don't buy it. Don't get me wrong. I'm still giving this match an 8. It's my individual kind of like issues with the match that I'm talking about. Like I said earlier, or what I always say from one review to the next. If you have any discussions about it, thoughts, opinions, by all means leave them in the comments. I don't mind having a discussion because this match could have been a friggin' 10 had they taken away some of those high spots and had just a bit more selling. So despite my issues, this match was still great. These two completed a great story arc. They both came out winners, and both men did what they did in this match better than anyone else could have, past, present, or future. Well, we don't know about the future yet, but you get my drift. All right, so I'm gonna cut this match. I'm gonna cut this review off right here, and I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back again. I'm gonna come back tomorrow with my end of the month rankings, and then Monday we're gonna start back fresh in March with another random ass deli match review. Have a good one.